One of my favorite quotes is by Richard Branson. It goes like this: courageous people may not live forever, but cautious people don't live at all. And it's a really powerful reminder, especially for us entrepreneurs, that to build a great life, to create a great business, it's not easy, and it requires a tremendous amount of courage. And part of this #winning series is really about equipping you with, hopefully, inspiration and some tough love sometimes to give you, not that I'm giving you courage, but obviously that's something you can build on your own. Like, you have to be willing to be courageous in life to build anything great. And, when I look at I was just actually speaking with one of my team members this morning about this, business, it's not for the faint of heart. Like, there are a lot of challenges in growing a business. There's a lot of difficult things you have to take on that most people are not willing to take on. And that's why most people don't run businesses. They work in a business. And, recently we actually had to, this past week, we just put our dog Layla down. She's almost 16 years old. And it was an emotional day, but then I felt fine. And again, this is like my dog who I've had by my side for almost 16 years. And I was thinking about this afterwards, and I thought, I'm like, have I like turned off my humanity switch here? Like, I don't feel bad. Like, I don't feel like I need to lay in bed depressed and sad all day. And that might be a stereotype of how people respond to those types of situations. But I was sad for the day. I was sad that she's gone, but I'm happy she's free. And I started to really think about this because it was business as usual the next day. Right? I posted about it on Facebook and Instagram, and obviously, thank you if you, commented. I'm not looking for any sympathy here, but if you happen to comment on the post, I appreciate the kind words. Because when you have a dog, like, they're really just bundles of joy that just come into your life, and it's just incredible. And at the same time, this is a couple days later now, it's like, cool, just business as usual. We get on. When I say business as usual, I mean like life as usual. And I'm not sharing this to make you feel like I'm a superior human or someone who doesn't have any emotions or anything like that. But I share this because it's an example of how things happen in your life that you just have to deal with. And be able to compartmentalize aspects of your life as a business owner is very important. So when I talk about being courageous as, the opposite of being overly cautious, like, you have to have courage to move through fear. You have to have courage to move through uncertainty. And courage is a muscle, right? It's just like doing bicep curls or chin-ups. The more you use it, the stronger and more courageous you get. So what I see a lot of times happen, especially with people that are a little bit more or less seasoned in business, is something happens in their life and it completely stops everything. Now, it can be a death of a pet, death of a loved one, something happens in their life. And I'm not downplaying the loss or the sadness that is created by that. I'm not downplaying that. If you lose a loved one, it's not easy. Like, I'm not going to pretend that it is easy. But I also want to remind you that when you are building something great, you have a responsibility to the people you're serving and to your team, if you have a team, to continue to show up. And just think about it this way. So let's say you're a practitioner by yourself and something happens in life, okay? Because life will happen, okay? There's a couple things that I can say with a good degree of certainty will happen for sure in your life. One is you'll die. We all will, okay? So welcome to the human experience. Two is you will know other people in your life who will die. And that's sometimes even myself, I don't even want to acknowledge that. It can be my parents, it can be my kids. Fuck it, like, I don't even want to think about that, right? But things are going to happen in our life, death aside. It could be a hurricane, roof blows off your house, like, whatever. Shit is going to happen in your life. Guaranteed. And you will die. Okay? Like, those are like two pretty certain things that we're all going to experience. So let's say that you are a practitioner and you're working with clients or patients, and you deal with one of these situations. Like, something comes up in life and it's like, oh shit, that just came out of the blue. Not great. What do you do? How do you create space to deal with that, and at the same time still function as a human and as a practitioner / business owner? Because there's two ways this goes. I'm not saying you suppress your emotions. No, I'm saying deal with it, everyone grieves differently, right? So for me, when we put down our dog, I spent a good amount of time journaling, and I was just kind of writing a letter to her and just kind of expressing my gratitude for, the amazing time we had together. And I knew that she was going to be okay. I knew that she was better. I knew that she was going to reconnect with her brother, Jax, who we put down a couple years ago. And I was happy, right? And sad at the same time. But for me, that was my process. I'm not saying that's better than anyone else's process. That was just my process. So yeah, we have to grieve. We have to obviously feel the emotion, because if we don't, it's just going to come up at some point in the future somewhere else. But we also have to be like, how do we compartmentalize that and still move on? Like, keep calm and carry on. Because if you're dealing with patients or clients on a weekly basis and you completely fall off the map, like, you have a responsibility to these individuals. They're paying you money, they're expecting you to show up in a certain way. And quite honestly, most people, they will understand what you're going through, but when push comes to shove, they don't give a shit, right? They're coming to you for help. And if you can't get your shit in order, they're like, hey man, like, I understand, your grandpa, your grandma, your aunt, your uncle passed away like a month ago, but like, I need your help. I need, like, I paid you for this service and I'm basically not getting it because you're non-existent. And I share this because I've seen people show up like this, or not really show up, like they just don't show up, to be honest. And again, I'm not downplaying the challenge of dealing with loss or different situations in life, but it's becoming a bigger, stronger version of yourself, so you're able to compartmentalize these things in your life so you can still move forward, so you can still show up in a way where you're not pretending everything's great. Like, you can still deal and process the thing and also show up in the way you need to for your clients, for your team, for your loved ones, whatever it might be. Again, I think there's an element of courage here, because it's I'm not going to say it's easy. Like, it would be easier in general to do nothing in life, right? It would be easier to lay on the couch, cuddled up under a blankie, just feeling sorry for ourselves, not wanting to do anything ambitious, playing it super safe. But quite honestly, I think you and I both know that's the most dangerous life to live, right? The life that is unlived is not worth living. That's why I'm a huge believer of, like, whatever scares you, fucking do it. Like, if you're nervous about something, you're investing in yourself, you're trying something new, you're not sure if something's going to work out, amazing. Do it. Because you will have certainty over the things you are already comfortable with. That's it. Like, the only things that are certain in life are the things you currently know that are within your comfort zone. Anytime you're embarking upon something new, naturally you're going to feel nervous about it because you've not done it before. It's something new. You're not sure what it's going to look like. But that doesn't mean you don't do it. Like, unless you for sure know that it's not for you. If you know it feels right, it's like, if you know intuitively this is the right direction for you to go, you have to do it. You have to go. Because I promise you, at the end of your life, you're not going to regret the things that you did. You're going to regret the things that you didn't do that you wish you had. And to be honest, like, unless you're the type of person who blames other people the whole way through your life, you'll find ways to get what you need to get out of anything, whether it's investing in a coaching program in yourself and kind of taking a direction, moving across the country. Like, it's just so much easier to do nothing. But as we all know, the easy life, the easy path leads to the hard life. I would much rather you lead or do things that are hard, because as a result, your life will seemingly be easier. So all of this to come back to, like, when you are faced with challenges, whether it's loss or situations that are out of your control, and it's like, how do I even deal with this? You're just able to cope and you're able to get back on the track as soon as possible, as opposed to being sidelined for weeks or months and completely like, I need to take a leave of absence for 6 months. Okay, cool. Like, I understand that, but what are you doing every hour of your day for 6 months? Like, are you just going to be sitting, grieving, thinking about the past for that amount of time? Or are you actually going to do something to move yourself forward? And this is why, especially as a business owner, like, for me, if I was not present in my business, the business would be okay. Like, it's not going to fall apart. But that's also not the type of leader that I want to be. And my team knows that nothing happens to me or to us, it happens for us. Very few things get me down for any length of time, other than, to be honest, small details that piss me off, that speak to our standards more than anything else. But little setbacks, whether, like, in the past, we've had ad accounts that are shut down, we've had people that we fired or let go, personal issues, all sorts of stuff. Like, I went through a really challenging time in 2014 personally for the entire year. And that year was also the year that my first published book became a #2 New York Times bestseller. I found a way to compartmentalize, to have space to deal with this stuff, and also at the same time, do not allow it to derail me from the mission that I'm on. And I understand that maybe that is not our default setting, or maybe it's not your default setting. And sometimes we might look at various leaders of businesses like Elon Musk or Zuckerberg, and they almost feel robotic. To be honest, when you look at people like Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, there is an element of, are these people even human? And to be honest, I'm not saying that you have to turn off your humanity switch, but what I've recognized is when you have a mission that is so compelling, nothing stands in your way. And that even includes people. And I'm not saying you discard people or you just dismiss tough situations, but your mission is so powerful, you're so connected to the work that you do, that you're able to just focus. And it's like, this happened, cool, focus. And I don't know if, I do think this is something that can be learned and that can evolve over time. For instance, but I also think there might be a bit of a tendency for this too. When I was in my 3rd or 4th year of university, I was going to Montreal. We had a game. I was at the University of Toronto. We were playing McGill. And on the way, my dad tells me that my grandmother died. So my grandmother and my dad at the time lived in Montreal. And I had a game where I could go to her funeral. And I chose not to go to her funeral. Now, you might say, Yuri, well, you could say whatever you want about that, right? I'm not going to put any words in your mouth. The way I look at this was, number one, I saw her occasionally. I wasn't super close to her. It doesn't mean that I didn't care for her, for sure. But at the time, I was so mission focused on playing soccer, on not missing this important game or whatever the situation was, that I was willing to not go to her funeral because I'm like, what's the point? She's gone. I'm just going to stand there with a bunch of people crying. Can I just play the game and then I'll go to the house afterwards and say hi to everyone? And that's what I chose to do. Is that insensitive? For me, personally, not, right? Because I was able to show my respects and love in a different fashion. Just because I didn't show up at a funeral doesn't mean that I don't care, at least from my perspective. Anyways, I'm not saying you have to be like that, but I'm just sharing, to create a high functioning business, you have to be a functioning human who is able to compartmentalize different aspects of your life. And it takes courage to do things that a lot of other people are not going to understand. I've never been one to people please. So was my dad happy that I didn't go to her funeral? Not at all. But quite honestly, I didn't give a shit. I did not care what he thought because I knew I was only going to go to her funeral because I wanted to make that side of the family happy. And that's never been something, that's not a card I've ever played. I'm about making me happy. And as a result, I can then give more to others. Some people might say that's selfish, but for me, it's allowed me to move through life with a very strong focus. And at the same time, I've also recognized how because of my mission of doing what I'm doing, I have very willingly called various relationships out of my life. Because I'm more focused on my mission than I am about building certain friendships and relationships. And that's just me. I'm not saying that that's good or bad, and I'm not saying that's what you have to do. It's just a decision. It's a choice that I've made from a very, very young age, whether it was to play pro soccer or, to do this thing. I remember playing soccer in France. I was dating a girl at the time who was back home in Toronto, and she was a mess, a mess. And I knew that I wanted to break up with her even before I went to France. And here I am kind of pursuing my dream. And every time I spoke with her, it was just a fucking sob story and just drama all the time. And I just don't have space for that in my life. And I knew that I wanted to end the relationship before that anyways. And I'm like, this is not helping me. This is pulling me down. And I don't need this in my life. And again, that was another example of me just being like, we're done. I appreciate everything we've had together for the past couple months, but this is where I'm going, okay? And you're not on the same wavelength as I am. I can't have this in my life. So all of this to say that doing great things, as you can see on this shirt, be great, do great, is hard. It requires courage. It requires to make hard decisions, to make sacrifices. And sometimes people they're not going to understand you. They may not like you for it, but if you know it's the right thing for you to do based on how you want to show up in the world, that's for you to decide. It's not for me to judge, not for anyone else to judge, but it's for you to live in your power, in your truth, whatever that is, and to live like that on a daily basis. And I think living in your truth takes more courage than ever before, because instead of trying to people please and like make sure everyone else is taken care of, fuck everyone else. Take care of yourself. Put your mask on first. And when you have that oxygen flowing in, you'll be able to much better serve and take care of those around you. Those are just my 2 thoughts. You can let me know in the comments. If you agree, disagree, it's all good. I've invested more than $1.4 million in coaching and mentorship, and it never ends. This past week, I was actually in Vegas at acquisition.com, learning from Alex and Leila Formosi. I want to share some insights with you in this video and how it can apply to your business.